Welcome back, everyone. It is Sunday, April 6th in the MLB. Our five best plays are on the way for a action-packed Sunday slate of baseball. As always, it's Austin, joined by Logan. A little bit better yesterday, Logan, but still not a winning day. 3-3, but good to see at least a couple winners go down. Tatis over in hits, runs, and RBIs. DeGrom, I know you guys didn't like that one. That was the most sweat-free prop of the day. You had 3 Ks, and then the nerfy cashes. We love to see that. Our losers, though, Jack Kochanowicz does not come out in the sixth inning. 79 pitches. I didn't expect him to. He didn't pitch that well. And then Toronto didn't get anything going. They refused to get a timely hit. Love that. Same thing could be said about Dodgers and Phillies. If you want, Logan, we aren't on the over in the Phillies game today. It is literally going to cash in the first 5 innings. But we will not be involved. We can't donate on any more Phillies games. We're just done. We're out. We got a bunch of plays locked and loaded, Logan. Let's have ourselves a day. We're going to begin with a couple player props. And you'll like the card. I think we got a really good one today. We got some overs, got some unders. We are going to get better than we did the last few days. Just a matter of the roller coaster ride that is the MLB season. And I begin with my favorite player prop of the day, one of mine. That's Jackson Merrill. Over hits, runs, and RBIs. 1.5. It's minus 140. I go back and forth and back in Merrill or back in Tatis. You know, we were on Tatis yesterday. He's at about minus 150, maybe a little bit higher. So I'll go to Merrill, who I think is in as just a good a spot, if not better than Tatis, even though Tatis does bat leadoff. Now, we know the Padres have lost the first 2 games of this series. They haven't really done a lot of offense in Wrigley Field. Now, the weather's been going against them, and we know that. And that's why you get a playable line for Merrill, who sometimes has a 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs line when he's at home. But on the road, you're going to get a lower line. However, they've been facing a bunch of lefties, and I really don't like the Padres lineup against lefties. I mean, some of their best bats, you got Luis Rise in there, a lefty. You have Merrill, a lefty. Cronenworth, a guy that I respect, a lefty in there too. So I really don't love their matchups when they face left-handed pitchers. But today they get a righty, and I think Tatis can get on base. Luis Rise gets a good matchup, and you move Jackson Merrill from the 5 spot up to the 4 spot, replacing Xander Bogaerts, who's mostly been batting cleanup, because you want that lefty matchup there instead of putting Bogaerts a righty. So number one, I think you'll see Merrill go into the cleanup spot, which is great because you think about guys are typically in front of him getting on base. So he could easily come up with some guys in scoring position, whether that's Tatis, Luis Rise, you name it. I think he has at least a couple ABs, 1 or 2 today, with some guys in scoring position. And at the end of the day, I love this matchup for him against Ben Brown. Now, Ben Brown struggled in his first start. Not a guy that I'm really too scared of. What I also like about Merrill is he doesn't really walk a lot. And while a walk could lead to a run, we don't really want him getting on base with a walk unless it's, we need one more hits, runs, and RBIs, and maybe he's the leadoff guy, and maybe they could hit him around. But again, like I said, he'll face Ben Brown, and Ben Brown is a righty. And as I said, he's kind of struggled this season. Merrill, he's crushing righties too. He's hitting 533 versus right-handed pitching. Last year, he was 311 compared to just 240 versus lefties. Now, Ben Brown's going to throw 3 pitches his way. It's going to be a 4-seamer, which he threw at a 67% clip last year, 50% through his 1 start. He also throws his knuckle curve, which he threw at a 29% clip last year, a little bit up 39% this year. Throws a change up about 11% of the time as well. I mean, Merrill last year crushed all those pitches. A 4-seamer hit 252. Knuckle curve, he didn't really see a bunch, but he was 6 for 11 against it. Changeup, he hit 333. So again, good splits there. Ben Brown struggled versus lefties last year, and Merrill went hitless yesterday. So you love to back a guy that just went hitless. You rarely see guys like as talented as Jackson Merrill go hitless in back-to-back games. It's not like he struck out and went 0 for 4. He had 2 balls that were hit with a 400 expected batting average and a 640. So again, a little bit unlucky for Mr. Merrill. I think he gets an RBI today, but I'll trust Merrill. This is the guy that can put it down the line. He cashes over in bases. If you're a FanDuel only better, they don't really post the hits, runs, and RBIs lines until later on in the day. I think Merrill delivers regardless. So give me his over. First play of the day, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for the San Diego Padres. And let's see if the Padres can keep giving us some money, because we certainly could need that. But Logan, you got to pick for the people. It's player prop. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm switching it up, going player prop market because game picks have been tough. Today, I'm taking Martin Perez of the White Sox under 2.5 earned runs, minus 120 odds on DraftKings is your best value there. Now, this isn't a prop that I really have seen on FanDuel. Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this is a FanDuel prop. If you only bet on a book that doesn't have earned run props, I'd pivot to a Tigers team total under, because they kind of do go hand in hand. I mean, obviously, if this one does lose, then the Tigers are scoring 3+ runs. And, you do factor in the White Sox bullpen in that pivot, but it's just something to think about. I just want to target Martin Perez, who starts for the White Sox today. So far on the year, pitched well. I mean, only one game, but 0 ERA and a .5 whip so far for Martin Perez. He's coming off a 6 innings pitched, 0 earned run, 9K masterclass versus the Twins. And normally the rule of baseball is you don't want to back a guy coming off a masterclass start. Now, my rule is you don't want to back a guy coming off a masterclass if he's a young pitcher. Martin Perez is the opposite of a young pitcher. He is a savvy veteran, and he looks to be in good form to start the season. The fact that he still has the swing and miss potential is huge for my confidence backing him today against the hot Tigers team. The Tigers are swinging red hot bats right now. We found that out the hard way in the nerfy portions of that. But Martin Perez is the type of pitcher to really slow down this team. He faced the Tigers last season. He only allowed 1 earned run in 14 and a thirds innings pitched. Like I said, the strikeout stuff, to me, is like very encouraging to see because that's not really his game. So if he does have the strikeout stuff, that is a huge addition. Martin Perez, typically a pitch to contact ground ball type pitcher, and that's totally fine with me. He can do that today. Also mixed in the Ks, I love that. The Tigers only faced one left-handed pitching starter this year in Blake Snell. Snell allowed 5 hits, 4 walks, and still went under that 2.5 earned run line. Kind of crazy. Terrible start stat-wise for Blake Snell, but this Tigers team did not do a ton of damage, even though they got the hits and walks up on him. Hopefully that continues once again today. And it wouldn't surprise me to see the Tigers go back to a different lineup versus left-handed pitching. Last year we saw them kind of mix in some guys in their more right-handed platoon guys. Potentially no Kerry Carpenter, I pray, because he wrecks me anytime I fade the Tigers. But Martin Perez in line for a great start today. Love that as my favorite player prop of the day. Austin, you got some more props. Where are you going?
Let's dive in. I really like the Martin Perez under angle. I mean, Tigers have been sweat-free. If you've been betting them the last few games, maybe the White Sox start barking a little bit as a dog on a Sunday. Certainly happens. We know the Tigers already, won the first 2 games of the series. They might trot out a bad lineup today, just try to give their guys a day off as they go into games tomorrow. But I got 2 more plays, then we'll get into Nerfy Nation, where I don't have to break my Nerfy flag today, thankfully. And this is an under. And I really think this is a solid, sharp under, and that's Kris Bubic. The Kansas City Royals starter today, under 17.5 outs, -120 on DraftKings. Look, Bubic, we faded him a ton in his past. Last year, you really couldn't fade him because they moved him to a reliever role. And I'll be honest, he looked really good as a reliever last year. He has started off spring training. He was decent. And then he had a really good not opening day, but his first start of the season was really good. Granted, it was against the Brewers, who weren't a great offense recently, and they started to pick things up. But again, in that first start of the season versus Milwaukee, he had 8 strikeouts. So hey, go for that. If you want to chase Ks, I'll allow it. But 6 innings pitched, so he hit the over, didn't go under, but he gave up only 3 hits, 2 walks, 0 earned runs. So he had a really good start. And in those 6 innings pitched, he still threw 95 pitches. Now, I would argue, you really won't get a much better start out of Bubic than 3 hits, 0 earned runs, and 8 Ks. So again, he had a really efficient start, pretty good for him. Today, much tougher task against the Baltimore Orioles. Now, the Brewers, to put a comparison, they rank 23rd in WRC plus versus lefties and are batting just 200 with a 7% walk rate against left-handed pitching this season. For comparison, I know it's a short sample size. Orioles, 8th in WRC plus. They're batting 273 versus lefties with an 11.4 walk percentage. So again, they've been pretty patient at the plate against lefties, which is all we can ask for. Now they have only faced 2. One of them was Sean Newcomb of the Red Sox, and the other was Garrett Crochet. Now, Garrett Crochet cooked the heck out of him. He went 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs. And maybe that was hey, well, this guy's cooking us. We got to swing early. And that's why he got into 8 innings pitched, which Bubic, sure, he could do today. Tip the cap. But against Newcomb, they were more patient. Only 4 innings pitched for him. They put 4 earned runs on him. At the end of the day, Garrett Crochet is one of the best lefties in the game. I don't know if Bubic in his second start since becoming back a starter is that great. And, if he goes 6 innings pitched great against a very good lefty hitting team in the Baltimore Orioles, I'll live with it. I just think this is a tough spot. And the worst case scenario is Bubic gets tagged and he's like tipping pitches, if you will, and they run up the pitch count or don't run up the pitch count. They're just putting earned runs, and the Royals are like, well, we're down 5-0. Let's just roll them out there again in the 6th. But again, I take my chances here. This is a rubber match for this series. Both teams have won 1-1. Royals bullpen's pretty well rested. They used a couple guys yesterday, but nothing too catastrophic given they were trailing like 8-1. So I really think this is a good spot to back Bubic's under. I love the under at 17.5. I just don't. If he goes 6, I tip the cap. I could see him going 5 here. I think this line's a tad too high. And then I have one more play, and I need to make a big caution. This is at the early start game. So if you're watching this, This is game one, and that is going to be the Cardinals versus Red Sox, both to score 2 runs in the first 7 innings, which is minus 150 on DraftKings. A little bit more juice than I want to play, but I really think this is a winner. At the end of the day, I was looking at my favorite plays on the board, and I'll give you guys what I think is a winner, which I think you guys would rather have a winner that might be a little bit juiced at minus 150 than us giving something maybe we don't love or don't have 100% confidence in. I rather this. And guys, a reminder, this is game one. They do play a doubleheader. Yesterday's game was rained out. They'll play early on in the day, and then they play on Sunday Night Baseball, I believe. But again, I love this these two teams, their offense to show up. And that's something that's shown up pretty consistently over the last week. I mean, these are two teams, even though they had a day off yesterday, they're still swinging pretty hot bats, and I love their respective matchups. Should be Andre Palante versus Sean Newcomb, who I really love. Now, for starters, both guys enter with a 2.5 earned runs line. Now, Newcomb, his outs line is only 12.5. So they have given him a 2.5 earned runs line. They don't even think he goes past 4 innings. On the other side, Palante, he's got a 2.5 earned runs lines. That's minus 140. I think this realistically could cash in the first 5, which I almost took it. It was plus 175. But at the end of the day, I'll take a couple extra innings, 6th and 7th, if we need a run or so to come on the bullpens or something like that, because neither of these two teams have dynamite bullpens. But we'll start with first the Cardinals offense, and they have shown up pretty well versus lefties. So they'll face Newcomb, a lefty. They're hitting 257. They have an 18% walk rate against lefties, 157 WRC plus. They faced 2 lefties this season, Kikuchi and Tyler Anderson. They both gave up 3 earned runs. I don't even think they made it into the 6th. I think they could get us at least 2 in the first 7. As for the Red Sox, like I said, they'll face Andre Palante. He had an okay start. He allowed 2 earned runs in his first start to the Twins, who, when he faced them, the Twins were disgusting. And now we faced a Red Sox lineup that, number one, has been really good in Fenway. Number two, they've been Fenway this year and last year. Number 2, they've also been a really good right-handed hitting team. Like I said, they're off the slow start in Texas against the Rangers, but the last 3 righties they faced, they've tagged them for 3, 5, and 6 earned runs. It's been Eflin, Morton, and Eric Fetty. Those guys aren't bums. Say what you want about Morton, Eflin, and Fetty. Those guys are pretty solid pitchers, and they still tagged them for 5 earned runs in some of those starts. Palante, he was really good at getting the ground balls last year. In fact, he ranked, I believe, like 90-something percentile in ground ball percentage. But what he does struggle with is the whiffs. And in fact, he's 11th in chase percentage, 8th in whiff rate, and 14th in K percentage last year. I really don't see those numbers changing a ton. And if there's any kryptonite or Achilles heel to the Red Sox offense, it is them swinging and missing. They can run up their fair share of strikeouts. But again, you look at Boston this season, they lead the MLB in hard hit percentage against right-handed pitching. So a guy like Palante, who credits himself for getting those soft ground ball outs, I don't know how often he gets those, and we could see them tag him for some extra base hits. They've been a really good team. If you look at his other props, like I said, a 5.5 hits allowed line, 2.5 walks, 2.5 earned runs. He doesn't even need to go over the earned runs to give up 2 in the first 5. Heck, there could be an error in here as well. I really like this one. Like I said, I don't lay minus 150 on really many plays, and you'll see that this season. But at this one, both to score 2+ in the first 7. I know we had bad juju on the first one we took in this sort of market, but last year was one of our better markets. So I really think there's some runs to be had in that Cardinals and Red Sox game in the first game. You can take it in the second game if you want to, but I have no idea what the pitching matchup's going to look there. I'd rather just target the first game, which should be Palante versus Sean Newcomb. But, Logan, I think you know what time it is. Let's get the rock music up and moving, and let's get out the flags, baby. Nerfy Nation, 5-5 on the season. We're looking to move that to 6-5. We need to wave these flags. As I said, I don't have to break this bad boy today, which is great because I didn't want to break. But today, we had a couple Nerfies we looked at. We looked at the Marlins and Braves Nerfy, but Sandy's got some weird numbers and Grant Holmes we don't trust. So instead, we'll go to one that we like even more, and I think it will look pretty familiar, Logan, because we're going to the Mariners and Giants, taking the no-run first inning here. It's minus 130 on Caesars. Not going to overcomplicate it. This one cashed first yesterday, and I'd argue we like the pitchers just as much, if not more, than the last guys. And I'll begin with Jordan Hicks. Now, Jordan Hicks can be a little bit it can be a guy that you might be like, oof, that's a risky business there. And maybe he's the one that gives up earned runs, as I really like Brian Wu, who Logan will talk about. But Jordan Hicks 1-0 on Nerfies this season. He was, I think, 13-7 last season, so not a terrible record. And what I actually like to see out of him is last year, he started the year really strong. He had a 0 ERA in his only start in March and like a 1.86 in April last year. So it was a really strong start of the season. And he's already had a strong start with a 1-0 on the Nerfies this year. If you look at the batters, you likely sees, as we always talk about, Going to probably see Victor Robles, maybe some J-Rod, Rally, and Randy Rosarena. Those guys don't have the greatest splits against them. I think J-Rod, his only hit came in when he was out of relief last year against Jordan Hicks. So, again, he struggled in relief. But if you look at the Mariners versus right-handed pitching this season, out of those top guys, you're looking at Robles batting 208, J-Rod 250, Cal, the big dumper, is batting a big .056 versus right-handed pitching, and then Randy Rosarena, who is probably batting cleanup, .111. So, again, these guys have struggled. I think he'd come out there. We've talked about Seattle. They're tied for last in first inning runs, really struggling offense out the gate. I think our boy can get us those first 3 outs. And Logan, need you to talk about Mr. Brian Wu, who's going to take us home.
Yeah, you already touched on it. Brian Wu does start for the Mariners today. Wu 1-0 this season on Nerfies. Last year, he had a great track record on the road, 10-2 on the road for Nerfies last year. Hopefully, he can continue that once again this year. San Francisco tied for 19th in first inning runs so far. So kind of drifting back to the pack. Like I said yesterday, they were 26th last season. So it's once again, like where are they going to fall? I think they're going to fall in the bottom tier as far as first inning run offenses go. And if you look at a couple of those guys that are probably going to be hitting in the top 4 of this lineup, Lamont Wade Jr., just 1 for 6 versus Wu. Chapman 0 for 6. If it does get to him, normally he bats cleanup. So again, Brian Wu, go out and do your job. Hopefully Hicks can do his job as well. Nerfy Nation, make it 2 in a row today. Let's fly the flags.
Let's get Nerfy Nation back on track. We did it yesterday. Let's cash another one and move on to Monday where we can wave these flags. Again, thanks for tuning in. You can recap all the plays. I'll recap them for the people, Logan. We have Jackson Merrill's over in hits, runs, and RBIs. Martin Perez under and earned runs. Chris Bubic under and outs. Cardinals and Red Sox both to score 2 in the first 7. You can take it in the first 5 if you're feeling risky at plus 175. This is a play on DraftKings, also on BetMGM. They just didn't have the game live when I was checking out, so maybe it would be better value. And then Mariners and Giants, no run first inning. Let's have a big day, Logan. Let's go 5-0. Let's start off a new week with some great momentum. Certainly can't be worse than what we've been doing recently. Let's have a good day. We'll see you guys back again in the next one. Peace.